I was putting the finishing touches on a gouache painting for my summer illustration class when I heard a knock at my door. I was surprised to see my brother Ryan standing on the other side. "Mom and Dad called. They, wanted me to come over here to tell you," he began in a somewhat hesitant tone. Then he paused and placed a sympathetic hand on my shoulder. Beeswax escaped. Ryan went on to explain that my cockatiel, Beeswax, had been soaring around the neighborhood since my mom accidentally stepped outside with him on her shoulder a few days ago. "They've tried everything," Ryan apologetically said. "He just won't come down. They didn't want to tell you, but they need you to come home. See if that will help." Beeswax was given to me as a 10th birthday present in an attempt to silence my incessant pleas for a pet. I wanted a dog, but because my parents worked long hours, they were unwilling to even entertain the notion. Still, both my brother and I were suffering from the classic signs of pet deprivation. For a brief time, Ryan even had an imaginary dog, and although I was unable to see him, I never questioned his existence in the hope that one day he would materialize himself to me as well. Unfortunately, he never did, and at the age of 10, a cockatiel named Beeswax was my first pet. It wasn't long after I started college and Beeswax was approaching a decade that my parents started wondering just how long our feathered friend would be, well, with us. It seems this question will soon be answered, I thought, as I crossed the Continental Divide in my 1984 Honda Prelude. When I arrived at the scene, my father was waiting for me in the driveway. The two of us set out on foot, splitting up so we could cover more ground. I was listening for the contrasting calls of a tropical bird amongst the usual Montana summer din when I spotted what looked like a tiny yellow speck at the tippy top of a tree. Seeing Beeswax up there just reinforced my feelings that he was never coming home. He was free. He was 12 years old. He had a good life. I silently convinced myself of these things before throwing my right arm up in the air, index finger extended in somewhat mock desperation, and calling, "Here, Beeswax!" Before I could call his name again, he had begun a steep descent towards my outstretched finger. While my initial response was pure astonishment, feelings of horrible guilt soon followed. After all, I'd been living away from home for several years and had just assumed Beeswax was indifferent to my comings and goings. My parents took good care of him. They gave him lots of attention. Yet for 3 days he refused every attempt they made to coax him down. When my mother heard the news, she expressed her wounded ego by reminding me that if you set something free and it comes back to you, it's yours forever. All the same, I took Beeswax back to my parents' house, and then locked him in his cage for good measure.